Welcome to a new episode of Morgana Radio, where I, your host, Morgana Ray, interview the most intriguing, fascinating thought leaders in the world on the topics of money, love, and magic. And today is a big money day. Our guest, Joe Nicassio, is fiercely committed to mentoring startup business owners to convert their talents into cash. He is the creator of the Employee Escape Plan. He helps his clients get more customers, get them to pay them more money, and make more money more often so that his clients can pursue their passions and have more freedom. If you are looking for a proven professional who can guide you to choose the right business that you will enjoy and profit from based on your talents, the right person to help you create a new brand, to position your brand in the minds of the marketplace. If you're looking for someone, we have a cat in the room. If you're looking for somebody to help you produce Tiffany packaging to tell your story powerfully, including making an irresistible offer, and to apply proven fast growth promotional methods to get your message out to the world, and to master powerful persuasion skills to convert leads and get them into sales and enjoy the sound of ka-ching as your cash register rings so that you can perform your services, then you've come to the right place. I'm really excited about Joe. Joe and I met just a week ago up in Walnut Creek where we were both speakers, and he really, really impressed me, and that's why I nailed him on the spot and made him come and be a guest on the show. So the topic of today's interview is mastering the outer game of entrepreneurship. Having the right mindset in business is critical, yes. However, that's not enough. You can't just sit on the couch and vibrate and think good thoughts. At some point, you need to have a strategy. You need to have strategy, tactics, and execution to win in business. So in this interview, Joe is going to introduce you to 6 critical pieces to making your business a finely tuned money-making machine. And when you get these 6 magical components right, you will have an income-generating business that you and your clients will love. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Morgana. I'm gonna take you on tour with me to do my introductions. That was awesome.
Thank you. So, how did you get to be a business coach? And especially, we were talking about people who are stuck in soul-crushing jobs. And this is the funny thing. When we were kids, that was the route to security. And now being an employee is zero security. So how did you become who you are, this expert in helping startup entrepreneurs become fiercely lucrative entrepreneurs?
Well, I think the path started actually after I failed in business. I had, I worked really hard and made some very good money, and then everything crashed and burned. And that was really on the technology side. And when it happened, I was wounded, I was in pain, but I was also committed to finding the truth of what really, really works. So I didn't have to go there again. And somehow, I just don't know how the universe attracts people, but I ended up doing a 7-year apprenticeship with Jay Abraham.
Wow.
And, my midlife crisis kind of turned into a midlife calling. And I just became committed to the truth of what works in business. And when I started learning this stuff, it was for my own healing at first. But then I wanted to help everybody. And then I realized everybody doesn't want to be helped. And so I work with that small group of people that do want to be helped. And let me give a metaphor. There's a little story. I like stories. So once upon a time, a man walks onto a construction site, and 3 men are working. So the man asked the first man, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And the man said, "Well, I'm laying bricks." Okay. He asked the second man, "What are you doing?" And the guy's like, "Well, I'm building a wall." He asked the third man, "What are you doing?" And he smiled, he looked to the sky, and he said, "I'm building a cathedral." And he just lit up. And I think a lot of people want that. They want to have that cathedral that they want to build. They want to create wealth. They want to create prosperity. They want to create income. But the problem is they don't all have a foundation. And so I put together this program called the Employee Escape Plan to really specifically help people who, yeah, they want to build a cathedral, but before they do that, they need to get the right steps in place first.
And this is by the way why I tend not to work with people who are beginning, because that is the hardest period. I'm so grateful that there's somebody like you around. So what have you learned about what it takes to start a profitable business?
Well, first of all, I think you need to have the possibility and the belief that you really can. And so the inner game stuff really is important. That's why I wrote the book, Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit, because I think a lot of people, it's like somebody threw water on their flame. And so you do need to get that piece down, but at some point you need to get down into the nuts and bolts. So, I think the first piece is this planning piece of choosing your business wisely. So there's three components. There's this sweet spot. Number one is you need to choose a business that you're really good at. And I think sometimes we don't take inventory of our competency, our skills, all the magic, all the abilities that we have. I believe children are born as geniuses and then conditioned into mediocrity. Okay? And go ahead.
Yeah, and so I think you're touching on what I find and I hear, so often from people who are just beginning, the almighty horrifying niche question. And people are so multifaceted and have so many different talents and are capable of so many different things. And then you're asking them to just pick one, and it's like cutting off all of your limbs and you get to keep one finger and pretend that feels normal. So how do you help people figure out what their magic sweet spot business is?
Well, first of all, I understand that part because I wanted to be a generalist so bad. I was for many years. But when you choose, like I chose this niche of employee escape plan, and it's like I get so much room to be creative with it because I have people come to me that are master farriers and they horseshoe $1 million horses, and then I have other people that are dentists or attorneys or electricians. So it's like, so even though I've narrowed myself, there's so much room to play within that territory. But choosing your business, first of all, it is really about inventorying all your stuff. What are you good at? Now, it's interesting because accountants look at tangible assets. They look at real estate and cash and capital equipment. And yet we also have something called intangible assets. And this is something I did learn from Jay Abraham. We have something called our secret wealth. And our secret wealth is what are you good at? What are your talents? What are your skills? When you go to medical school and you get a medical degree, the medical degree is the tangible asset. It doesn't have much value at all. But the real skill, the real magic, what you get paid for is your intangibles, your ability to heal people. And so it's so powerful when you actually inventory what am I good at. The second piece is inventorying what am I passionate about. Because if you don't have that passion, if you don't have that love, if you don't have that thing that when you wake up in the morning you're excited to do, you're going to burn out in it. I think so many people choose a business for the money part, and they don't take into consideration the love and the passion part. And if you have the love and the passion and you do that serving other people, you're not going to burn out. You're going to get excited about doing it every day. And the third piece has to do with you got to get paid. What will the marketplace pay for? So what are you good at and what are you passionate about? It's all about you. But now we need to connect the dots. And, the good news is we live in a world of problems. I don't know if that's good or not, but we live in a world of problems, and there's two kinds, the ones people will pay to solve and the ones people won't pay to solve. And so if you can get really clear on identifying a problem that people will pay to solve and put your magic, your skills, your talents, your passions into it, you're going to have a business that you really enjoy. Are you with me on this?
Oh, totally. That's why I ended up accidentally with this money niche is uh, I wrote about it in 2003 and the response was so overwhelming, the excitement. It was like I felt like the universe just pulled me up by the scruff of my neck and said, this is what we're going to focus on. But on the other side of the pain door, I get to do all the stuff I love about life purpose and legacy and romance and relationships and the life coaching stuff because it's all related. But yeah, it's really easy to sell what people want. And it's
Yeah.
really hard
What they
to sell
crave.
what they need, but they don't want.
Yes. And I just want to put a thank you to you for your message of what you do with the money monsters and the money honey, because you have put a fresh perspective that I don't think anybody else touches, and your unique value. It's just very refreshing to have somebody like you with your spin on things and the way that you approach solving these problems, and I appreciate that in you.
Thank you.
So
Are you hearing a high pitched squeaky noise over there?
I did for a moment.
Okay. It's gone now. Yay. Okay.
So the second piece is after you plan your business and you choose what business you're in, you need to then position it. You need to brand it. So when I say positioning, it's not like this is the position I want to take in the world. It's really, everybody has positions in their brain where we hold certain when we have a problem, say your problem is you need to ship a package halfway around the world that needs to get there overnight. That's a problem. And so in your brain, there's a company that holds a position, and it's probably FedEx or UPS. Okay? Well, the same thing goes with your business. If you're solving a problem, you want to establish when people have that problem, they want to think of you as the solution. And so, and the way you do that is by understanding what are the emotions of the buyer. You want to understand what are their frustrations, what are their fears, what are their wants and their aspirations. And when you inventory this in your marketplace, when you say, here's my ideal customer and here's what they're afraid of. This is their frustrations. This is what they want. And this is what they dream. And maybe they've even let go of their dream or given up on that dream. But if you can demonstrate, I understand what you're going through better than you understand what you're going through, you're going to connect the dots and say, wow, this person or this company is the solution to my problem. So that second piece is positioning, it's branding, it's understanding, having your brand represent a solution to very real world problems.
So before we started recording, you were telling me that tomorrow is your birthday and you just saw a client who is the world's greatest massage therapist.
Yes.
And he has a dramatic story. So how did you position him?
As the world's best massage therapist. Mm-hmm. I met him. He was struggling. He was living in his car. And I met him at a seminar. He was doing back of the room chair massage, actually for Lori Morgan Ferrero at the Speed Copywriting event.
Old friend of mine.
Yeah. So we hooked up, and he wanted to work with me, and he paid me some money. And we, after a month, he said, Joe, I made more in the last month than I've ever made in a year. I'm taking you on vacation to Mexico. But yeah, his business is doing really well today. But here's a man with skills and talents, but he just didn't know how to take them to the marketplace and really, one of the things I asked him is, he was selling one massage at a time. It's like, well, have you ever thought about selling 10 at a time? And when he started doing that, another thing that I did with him is we talked about who is a dream client. And I talked to him about Bob Hope and how Bob Hope used to get massaged daily. And he says, how do I get clients like that? I said, well, you need to state that intention into the world. And guess what? He picked up one of those dream clients who's a multi-platinum recording artist who, when he traveled to Europe to do a new album launch, he took him there for 25 days and paid him $1,000 a day, plus put him in all the nice hotels. And so, yeah, it's really possible to make a shift from living out of your car to, doing,
traveling the world in style.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Sweet.
but yeah, so that, that's part of his brand is being the world's best massage therapist. He said, I don't know if I can own that. He was like, how do I own that? It's like, first of all, you've like studied Thai massage and you practice, you've gone to acupuncture school. You went to China to study herbs. You've done all this stuff to learn, you've lived on Indian reservations and learned from the shamans. It's like, you've learned all these different modalities. It's like, more than anyone else. And I said, you just need to take ownership. If he says, well, what if somebody else says I'm the best massage therapist? Well, then you do PR. You do a radio show or a podcast and you have a debate. Who's the best? And then everybody wins.
Oh, that's beautiful. So we have 2 of your 6 critical points. Let's move on to number 3. What's that?
So now that you understand the brain psychology, the emotional triggers of what makes somebody buy from you, now you need to package that up attractively. So if we take Morgana in a brown paper bag versus Morgana in powder blue Tiffany box or packaging, what's going to be more attractive?
Yeah, I think I've evolved to be more of a Tiffany box kind
You
of
have,
coach.
you have. And the way you do that in marketing, though, is we're not going to actually like go to the store and buy you a powder blue Tiffany dress, although that might be interesting. But what we're going to do is really come up with a really good offer, an irresistible offer, and we need to package that in storytelling.
Now, this is where people who are new or outside kind of the whole coaching or internet commerce might go, what do you mean by offer? What does that mean? What is an irresistible offer?
Yeah, so I think ultimately any offer is, first of all, taking somebody who has a problem. If you draw on the left side, you got a problem, and on the right side, you got a promise. We're helping people move from a sad face to a smiley face.
So the offer is the solution that people can invest in.
Well, I'd like to make a distinction. It's the prescription.
Uh-huh.
So for example, say the offer is, say you have a need to go in for open heart surgery.
Mm-hmm.
The solution would be wheel them into the emergency room and give them the surgery and just fix them. The problem is you're not necessarily going to get paid if you just give somebody a solution. So what you do first is say, I need to give you a prescription. The prescription is you need open heart surgery. So we need to make sure that the payment, the insurance, however you're going to pay for this is in place. So now that we've given you a prescription, if you agree to that prescription, then we'll give you the solution, but you don't get the solution for free.
Okay.
People need to pay. So, and I think a lot of coaches get into trouble because they say, they say, I understand your problem. Now here's the solution. And it's like, now you don't need me anymore because now you have the solution.
Well, I call this OCD, and I because I have it, and it's this obsessive coaching disorder where I see somebody with a problem, and I just have to dive in because I can see the solution so quickly. So Dr. Joe, what's the solution to that?
It's malpractice to give a prescription without proper diagnosis first.
Okay.
So just to like, how do we do this as an offer? So the first thing is demonstrate I understand your problem. Okay. Number 2 is like, here's a prescription. Okay. And then the third piece is like, here's the outcome you're going to get when you get this prescription. So here's what it looks on the other side. I know you're in pain or problem right now, but after you've received a solution, say 3 months or 6 months from now, here's what it's going to look like, or what's it going to look like.
So what makes it irresistible? What is your definition of an irresistible offer?
When the pain of inaction is greater than the pain of action, people will take action. Okay? So part of irresistibility is to demonstrate that, if you keep going on the path that you're going to go, that's going to be a lot more painful than the small investment you're going to make to hire me or to hire you. For example, I've had people that have hired me that have gone on to make an extra $100,000 a year. And I've charged them maybe $6,000 for that kind of coaching. And, the cost of the coaching was $6,000. The cost of not getting the coaching was that extra $100,000 a year after year after year. So I think it's about having a big promise. For every promise, there's a price to pay. And if the promise is clear, the price becomes small.
I like that. Are there now, for integrity, are there people that you would say no to? Because to make a promise, you need to be confident you can deliver.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to have criteria of who is a good fit, who is a good client. If somebody doesn't have a sense of urgency, they're not my client. If they want to wait a year or 2 years or 3 years to get their money stuff handled, that's not a client for me. But you have to have a criteria. What's a good client for you? And if they don't fit the criteria, and by the way, this is I have this little simple little formula. It's like 3 columns of um, and it's the sales agenda that always wins. Okay, and so most people have an agenda to get the sale, and if you get the sale, you win. If you don't get the sale, you lose. That's not a good agenda. So I've shifted that. My agenda is never to get the sale. My agenda is to get to the truth of a good fit.
Mm.
And if I get the truth, if it's a good fit, I win. If I get the truth and it's not a good fit, I win because I win every time I get the truth.
Oh, yeah. My
And
only
so,
regrets are early on in my career, clients that were not a good fit.
yeah. And so there's kind of like 3 broad brushstrokes of what makes a good fit for me: money, service, and fun. I do need to get paid. I am huge on giving service, but I do need to get paid. And it needs to be enjoyable for both of us.
Mm.
So if we enjoy each other and I can be of service and I can get paid, that's a good client. Otherwise, it's not a good fit. And then, when it is a good fit, I give my clients my heart and soul. I mean, I'm like all in to help you like go from 0 to cash flow in 90 days. And I guarantee that, people pay me a fee, say $3,000. I guarantee that you'll make double that, or I'll keep working with you until you do, because I am committed to helping you get a result.
Mm.
And so I go all in with people. I really am heart and soul. It's like, let's get this money part of your life, this business part of your life handled so that you can stop getting somebody else's cash register ring and actually create your own.
Beautiful. What's step number 4?
So now that you've got a package, you've got an offer, and you wrap it up in some storytelling, now you got to get that story out to the world. You need to promote. So far we've got planning, positioning, packaging. Now we're at promotion.
Ah.
Okay. And this is where people say, okay, I need to have a website. I need to do, and there's a lot of ways to promote, but they're not all equally effective. So when I work with people, we focus on the 7 methods of fast growth companies. So that's quality literature, Salesforce, advertising, effective advertising, public relations. My friend Michael Levine says, advertising is what you pay for, PR is what you pray for. So getting featured as a story in radio, TV, magazines, newspapers is so powerful. And then the 5th one would be like events, quality events, where you can get in front of groups of people. That could be trade shows or customer appreciation events or lunch and learns, any chance where you can get in front of crowds. And then the 6th method would be direct mail. Direct mail still works, especially for things like thank you cards and birthday cards and those kinds of things. And then the 7th would be the internet. The first 6 are actually mostly offline. So you need to get your message out to the world. One of the mistakes people make is they go, I need a website. And they haven't planned their business. They haven't positioned their brand. They haven't packaged themselves with a great story and an offer. How can a web designer create a website when you have none of those other pieces in place?
No, they can't.
So they do create a website. They charge people for a website, and it doesn't have a good brand. It doesn't have a good story. It doesn't have a good offer. And then they wonder, why isn't my website working?
Because there are a trillion websites out there, and I hope that if you pay for your first website, it's in WordPress so that you can change it, because you're going to need to change it a lot. I love that you articulated the 7 different ways that we attract clients to us.
Well, yeah, those are the 7 marketing methods of fast growth companies. So we can look back in histories at companies that have grown fast, and those are the 7 methods that they've used. Okay, they didn't necessarily do billboards or skywriting. Well, those fit under advertising, but we want to focus in those areas because there's some really bizarre stuff you can throw money at. And one of the ways that I teach people to create an instant marketing budget is start firing the stuff that isn't working. Stop spending money on stuff that doesn't work.
Great. So plan, position,
Package.
package, promote. What's the next one?
Yeah, so this promote part is where you put stuff out into the world. This is where you put your magic in the world, your
Yeah.
message, your love. I mean, and some people will raise their hand.
Well, and I have heard from my community, which skews very spiritual, very healer, very enlightened, and I've coached a cage fighter and a hedge fund owner and an advertising agency owner, and they're all closet mystics, so spiritual crowd generally. And from the more healer side, the less business savvy, I know that there's a lot of ick around promotion, a lot of judgment against those who do, and a lot of resistance against doing it themselves. I personally believe that it's a good deed because you're educating people about what is possible.
Yeah, so it's not so much what you do, but how you do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of education-based marketing. Giving away free value where it's not a sales pitch, where if you give people a taste of some steak, they'll want to buy some more steak. So you do need to, giving, Jim Rohn said, giving is better than receiving because giving starts the receiving process. And I think our promotional efforts should be really more giving oriented to give people a taste so that they're like, wow, if they're giving me this free, I can't wait to see what the paid value is. And you're right, there is a certain amount of ick. And it's kind of sad because we live in America, which is a capitalist society. And I think a lot of that ick is created by people that aren't trained and they are pushy or they just learned, like through swap meeting or, just kind of that street level. It's not the high level, like connecting at a spiritual level.
Yeah.
But once, the main thing is you put your stuff out there and not everybody's going to love it. Not everybody's going to hate it, but some people will love it or they'll be at least interested and they're going to raise their hand. And so one of the things I learned from Jay Abraham is this idea of direct response marketing, where if you like what you're seeing here, raise your hand, pick up a phone, send in an email, take some kind of response, a direct and immediate and measurable response. And so those people that respond, so after you've promoted, now you're going to generate leads. People are going to show some interest. Now you need to have a persuasion process. And, my definition of persuasion is helping people make decisions, helping people make wise decisions that are good for them. I'm here to help people. And if I can't help you, please keep your money. I'm really all about helping people and just helping people navigate that, though. We live in a time when people do have a lot of baggage and issues around money. And our job is to be compassionate, loving healers to help people through that process. And on the other side, whatever business we're in, I think we should be, and most businesses are in the business of helping improve conditions. Your work, Morgana, is about helping people improve conditions around money. My work is about helping people improve conditions about succeeding in business. And so that's my job is to help people. And I think one of the things that makes me different is I offer a complete solution to my clients, all the fundamental pieces. And I think unfortunately a lot of people in business, they offer incomplete solutions, and this disenchants the marketplace when
Oh, don't get me started. Yeah, there's just, and they're selling to people who are not ready for what they're selling. Like they're selling packages to the person who doesn't know the niche yet, or they're selling tactics, but not a whole business strategy, which is really different. And you can waste a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money going after pieces of the picture instead of the whole picture. So thank you for bringing that up. I also really deeply love what you said about what persuasion is, helping somebody wisely choose what is best for them.
yes.
It's not some rapey trick somebody into a sale.
Mm-mm. No. Yeah, but the other side of that though is, it's so fulfilling. I offer this thing called Employee Escape. It's so fulfilling when I get that phone call, Joe. I was just able to quit my job because the business that that you helped me start is now providing enough income that I can walk away.
Mm.
I mean, that is just like, oh, it's all worthwhile. I'm doing good
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah, yeah. So if you go to my website, one of the first things it says at the top is like, if you love your job and you're happy in your job, this website's not for you. Go away. Go away. you know, I'm not. If you love there are some people that love their job. One of the questions I ask people is, what is it about your job that you're so passionate about that you like to bounce out of bed in the morning? And very often they say, well, there's nothing. I really don't enjoy my job. Okay, well, then maybe we have a basis for conversation now.
Oh,
Uh,
last time I had a job back in 1989, uh, I felt like a drone. I was lousy at it. It wasn't using anything that I was good at, and and I was fired. And I deserved to be fired because I wasn't really very good at it.
well, and sometimes, check this out. I'm going to tell you a powerful story about how I was terminated from employment from a job one time for the wrong reasons. I worked for a company. Well, maybe you could say it's the right reasons, but I worked for a company selling computers back in the 80s. And I get a call. And by the way, I was performing well. I was busting quota. My customers loved me. But I get a call one day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was in Torrance, and my dad had a heart attack, and he was in Loma Linda Hospital in Loma Linda. And so I asked, my manager was on vacation. The assistant manager, I said, can I go visit my dad? He says, no, you have to work out your shift till 7 o'clock because we're shorthanded. So begrudgingly, I worked out my shift until 7 o'clock. But when I came back, then at 7 o'clock, may I leave now? I had permission to leave, and I left to go visit my dad in the hospital over the weekend. When I came back to work on Monday morning, my boss, the manager, came into the store, and she called me into her office. Says, "Where were you on Friday night?" I said, went to see my dad. I left at 7 o'clock. I had permission to go. And she says, "Well, after you left, some men with masks and automatic weapons came into the store, and they tied up Gary, and they took all the computers out of the warehouse." And,
Ooh.
and I was like, that's terrible. I had nothing to do with it. And my dad's in the hospital. That's terrible too. So I went on with my work. But about a week or 2 weeks later, they called me into the office and said, "Joe, we have to terminate your employment." I said, "Why?" They said, "Well, you broke a policy for not being in the store at close-up time. You have to have two people at the store at close-up." And I was like, it was 7 o'clock. I had permission to leave. I was under the assumption he was closing up. Well, he didn't. He stayed and chit-chatted. But they held the insurance company was not going to pay the claim unless somebody took responsibility. And so, I mean, after this, I went and saw an employment attorney basically to find out I had no rights. And one of the things I learned is sometimes you get hired for all the right reasons, and sometimes you get hired for all the wrong reasons. And sometimes you get terminated for all the right reasons, and sometimes you get terminated for all the wrong reasons. Regardless, I made a commitment to never, ever, ever work for another person as an employee again. I don't work for people, I work with people. And I do it as an entrepreneur. And I do that because I take responsibility for the success of my business. And when I have a job, I am not self-reliant, I'm employer-reliant. And I'm putting my ability to be self-reliant in somebody else's hands. And I'm not convinced that other people care about my reliance as much as I do or can.
No, a year before I met my husband, I was dating a very cute, charming, smart advertising copywriter who had won all these awards, had worked for his advertising agency for 14 years, and I'm like super hyper intuitive. And for some reason, I just kept saying to him, you need to start your own business, maybe teaching other people what you know about copywriting on the side at night, but you need to start your own business. And he was very risk averse, which I totally understand. I never, ever imagined myself being an entrepreneur, never sought it out. But I now believe that there's more security in knowing how to be an entrepreneur,
Yes.
even
Oh,
if you're an
totally.
employee. And lo and behold, about 2 or 3 months after we broke up, he was fired. This award winning copywriter with 14 years of employment. never saw it coming. And I had that niggling feeling that he needed to take his fate into his own hands.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're an employee with no, big urge to be the next Bill Gates or, some like huge thing. Chris, I think his name is Gillibo, just came out with a book that there's a whole chapter about Devin and me. And the book is called, I can't remember now. Oh
That's
well.
okay.
But you know what? We saw him speak because he and Devin have been friends for years, and he was talking about just get a side gig.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an employee, just get something on the side
Yeah,
while you're an employee.
Starting your own business doesn't mean that you have ambitions to be the next Bill Gates. Maybe it's you want a lifestyle business just to have time freedom to, a lot of people, they make very good money on a job, but they have golden handcuffs. They can't spend time with the people they love. What good is making a bunch of money if you can't spend time with the people that you love? I mean, like, really. So, yeah. So, I tell people, I think most people are spending too much time on the wrong side of the cash register, meaning they're consumers versus receivers. And one of the things you want to do is establish your own cash register, establish your own values and things that you can offer the world and get paid for. Even if you have a job, you can do this as a side business. And then once if you decide that's something you want to grow, you can eventually do that full time and walk away from depending on other people.
Would
I
you
tell
take
people,
it?
I tell people, stop working for the man, be the man.
I love that. Would you take somebody like that?
I do it all the time. I'm working with somebody right now. She's an attorney. She's got extra attorney degrees in Navajo or in environmental law. She works with like the Navajo Nation, and she works with the federal government, and she does all this environmental stuff. But she doesn't like it. She hates it the way it currently is. And so what we're doing is inventing the business that's going to be her dream job, so that she can eventually transition into that.
I had a billionaire mentor back in 2009.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I asked, the universe to help me like remove the ceiling of what I believe possible for myself, and then I got this billionaire mentor, which was very brain expanding. And he doesn't like loans because they create debt. And
Mm-hmm.
he had an attitude about a job while you're building your business is it's like an interest-free business loan with
There
benefits.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, and so yeah, it's and the thing is I believe a couple things. I already said children are born as geniuses, then conditioned into mediocrity, and children don't lack capacity; they lack mentors. And the third one is, success is inevitable when you master the fundamentals. So, regardless of where you are in life, if you have a mentor and you learn the fundamentals, success is inevitable. It's there. There are laws, and if you position yourself and package yourself, if you plan and you're the right business, and you position yourself with a brand, and you package yourself into something that's a great story with a great offer, and then you get that story out to the world, some people are going to raise their hand, and you're going to be able to persuade those that need persuading so that you can serve them, so that finally the sixth piece to this puzzle is perform. So you can get paid first and then perform next, which is, I think, the way business should be done. Is you get paid up front. Employees work 30 days and hope to get paid 30 or 60 or 90 days later. Entrepreneurs, they get paid up front and then do the work. This is a big distinction. Mm. And so this performance part is 3 parts. And I tell this to my clients or my prospective clients. And, for you, it's the same thing. I do this for me. Is I want you to be so happy when you work with me. I want 3 things to happen. If you really love working with me, I'll hope you'll want to continue working with me. That's the first thing. The second thing is I want you to be so happy that you have such a good experience that you'll feel comfortable sending referrals my way. And I want you to feel so happy with me and the results that you'll feel comfortable giving me a video testimonial. So those are 3 marketing steps that everyone can perform. When you perform for your clients, so I use it as a selling point ahead of time, and then I use a reference of, are we doing good enough to meet that standard? And now that we've met that standard, the referrals, the ongoing work, and the video testimonials are just a condition of doing business. And now those are things that help proliferate your business. One of the most exciting things in business, and I'm sure you know this, Morgana, but like if you have however many customers, if you have 100 customers and you get them all to refer one friend, you've just doubled your business.
Well, you heard the story in Walnut Creek about what happened just the week prior in Sun Valley, where I discovered that one of the clients who came with me to Bali in 2013 has made over $10 million since then. And she was on stage telling a room of hundreds of people that it wouldn't have been possible without what she learned from me. And she wanted to go back to Bali for like her next breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So I added a retreat in November for her because she couldn't go in May next year. And wouldn't you know it, all of her friends want to go. So this,
Bam.
yeah, and it really does, there are quite a few, I think, out of integrity professionals in the world who their performance ends when they get paid. And that is such a
That's when the
business
true
killer.
sale begins.
Yeah, but that's a business killer,
Totally, totally. Yeah, too many people are selling crap in a box. My whole philosophy is when my clients win, I win.
Yeah.
And I am so much about my clients winning. And when it happens, and it happens pretty consistently. I'm really happy that I do have formulas and I do have little, I got step-by-step little exercises and formats and frameworks. There's a formula for everything. And no matter what obstacles you're facing, and what I think before I got into marketing, I was an electronics troubleshooter. And I really take pride in my ability to take a $10,000 piece of equipment and get my voltmeter and my oscilloscope out and find the 5-cent part that's causing this $10,000 piece of equipment to not work. And those skills have transferred to what I do in business. I am a troubleshooter. So whatever problem you got in your business, bring it on, because I love the challenge. That's what makes me tick, is solving problems and coming up with solutions.
And I saw that in you when we were speaking, and that's why I was so impressed by you. What is your favorite troubleshooting client story?
Well, there's one that just pops to my mind. Fred Garnica started a security guard company called Security America, and he had one employee full-time that was guarding a yard for a company. And he came to me, and his question was, how do I get more clients? And I said, well, is that the right question? Because sometimes the problem we think is the problem isn't the problem, and sometimes we're asking the wrong question. And I said, there's 3 ways to grow a business and get more customers, but also to get more transactions, more frequency of transaction from your existing customers, and increase the transaction size. And it's a whole lot easier to get more business from an existing customer than it is to turn a stranger into a customer. And so I said, well, he said, so what is it? Do you want more customers, more frequency, or bigger transactions? He says, I want more customers. I'm like, no, wait. You have one customer. Go back to them and ask, do you have more work for me? And he went back and asked that one customer, do you have more work for me? And they gave him 7 more yards to protect at $3,000 a month. His income went from $3,000 a month to $24,000 a month in 30 days by just simply asking that one question.
And it is so much better to be able to make one person really, really happy than 100 people sort of
Exactly.
A friend of mine describes all clients as problem children. We are all problem children. We all want to be special. We all want a lot of attention. And is it easier to make one problem child happy or 100? So, wow, bravo, Joe. That great advice. Now you have a gift for our audience, and the link will be posted along with the video for those of you listening on iTunes. Surprise, you can see our faces and all of our freaky expressions, and you'll get the link to Joe's gift at morganaradio.com. So this is a book, I believe. Can you describe the gift that you have for our listeners?
I actually have 3 gifts.
Ooh.
Do you like gifts? I got
Yes!
3 gifts.
Yay!
So the first gift is I wrote a book. It's called Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit, a practical
approach. So when you
approach.
said you wrote the book, you were not being metaphoric. You really wrote the book. Sorry.
I really wrote the book. Yeah,
The title
I didn't ghostwrite it. Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit.
Awesome.
So if you feel like you got water on your flame, this book is the cure for that.
Great.
Okay. And then the second gift I have is I do webinars. So there's a webinar registration link on the website. And then thirdly is I offer a free consultation to anybody to help you get clear about creating your own business and to get clear about what you really, really want and how you can start manifesting that. And to also identify any roadblocks or obstacles that are stopping you. Because, whether or not you hire me, it's really good to just lay out what you want, where you're at, and what's stopping you from getting there. Because when you have those things really clear, I think a lot of times we think we know what we want, but they never had somebody sit down and just lay it all out in one package in front of them to see, here's your life, and what are you going to do with this business idea?
Well, that is unbelievably generous, because the only thing that we really do have a limit on is our time. And for you to give your personal one-on-one time and attention and expertise to somebody for free is really, really generous of you. And I don't even know how long that you're going to keep that available. So
yeah, it's limited on availability. I'm busy. Things, employee escape plan is going places. It's going viral. People are talking about it. They're laughing about it. Comedians are making jokes about it. If you have a soul-sucking job, or the boss from hell, or some of the memes on the website.
Yeah. And you're being an expert speaker in places all over, because you're getting a really great reputation. So thank you so much. The link for the book and the webinar and the one-on-one time with Joe will be posted at morganaradio.com. Your 6 steps, let me see: planning, positioning, packaging, persuasion, promotion, persuasion, then performance. Okay. Will also be listed. We'll just write them down in bullet points. And do you have any final words of wisdom before we sign off?
Oh, I always have words of wisdom. Those who say that something can't be done should stay out of the way of those who are doing it. And there are all kinds of naysayers that'll tell you can't start your own business. Don't listen to them. Surround yourself by people who cheer you on, who encourage you, who make sure you get the right information. That's what I am. I'm a cheerleader. I'm more than a cheerleader. I teach you the nuts and bolts. So even though I know the inner game stuff, you need to get the inner game and put that outer game together. There's a saying, pray to God, then move your feet. Beautiful. And so make sure you're moving your feet in the right direction. Get the instruction, get the tools, get the fundamentals. And I look forward to seeing you and facilitating and helping you get the success that I know you want, need, and deserve.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so scary when you're an entrepreneur trying to figure it out for yourself, and you need knowledgeable external eyes sometime to just carve years of guesswork and agony off of your journey. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like the Terminator. The Terminator, it's like when I look at a business, I troubleshoot, and it's like I pinpoint the problem. And so that one of the reasons people come to me is I help them increase their implementation velocity. So what they may have taken 20 years to do on their own, we can get them going in maybe 90 days or 3 to 6 months.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.
And that is another episode of Morgana Radio, and tune in again for our next one next week. Thanks. Bye.